Welcome to Track Talk. These are, if you've never been here, 20 to 30 minute long form consultations on the structure of your music. We're going to listen to your song multiple times, usually 2 to 3 different times, to get into the details and the nuances of your music. The entire structure of this live stream is to offer a long form consultation where we get into the details of your mix and master, production elements, sound design, lyric and song structure, so on and so forth. So if you haven't been here before as well and you don't know who I am, my name is Torvik. I'm a full-time audio engineer, producer, and session musician. It's what I do for a living. It's what I've done for 13 plus years. I'm also a classically trained musician. The structure of this live stream really is just pointed in that direction to hopefully offer some tools, tips, some advice, some structure, just from my professional experience as a musician, a producer, and an engineer. But if you would like to submit, if you're on YouTube, you can go to my description. If you're on TikTok, go to my profile, click on the link, and click on Track Talk Submission. And if you're on Twitch, you can type !submit right there in the chat, and we'll give you all of the details right there for you to submit your music for a consultation. We got Satori Zoom up on the board. Thank you so much for hopping in as well, Satori. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it is my first time hearing your music. If it's not, please remind me, but if it is my first time hearing your music, give me all of the details. Give me context, talk to me. I've got your track, your Obsession, Master 4424. Give me some details as far as production structure, the role that you played in this, dark wave sort of stuff. Let's go. That's my favorite shit. Let's get into it. Yeah, talk to me about what you're using to record, the role that you're playing in the track structure. Are you mixing this yourself? Are you working with an engineer? Some context in that world. And let's get into it. This is electronic dark wave sort of stuff, which is literally my favorite stuff in the world. All right, let's get into it. This is Obsession by Satori Zoom. Let's dive in. One time, that is Satori Zoom. They are over, Glio was asking about you over on TikTok. Over on TikTok, they're liking it too. Glio was asking who it was. It's Satori Zoom. Let's get into this, y'all. Let's run it from the top. This is Satori Zoom. I'm excited to get into this. There's a lot of really cool sound design, some really interesting melody structure. I think my goal with something like this is to have all of the vibe that you want, all of the energy, all of the color and character that you want out of this record, and still have some level of clarity and distinction between these different elements. And I think that's the thing that I'm missing. There's a lot of kind of like mid and low mid mud that kind of all takes this big blob in the middle of the mix right here. And because of that, I can't really like feel and distinguish all of these different elements that are happening that are all really cool elements. I hear some cool synths, I hear some really cool vocals, but they all kind of end up manifesting as this kind of blob of sound right in the mids, between, 600 and 3000 hertz. There's a lot of energy right there. So I would love to get into the details of that and break down how we can actually polish a little bit of those different elements. But you're talented. I like the sound design. There's some cool production elements here, some addicting, good repetitive melodies, all that good stuff. So let's dive in. Any other details you want me to know, feel free to drop them in the chat. Any other context, let me know. So I really do like this early progression and melody that you have here. I'm pretty sure you're in F sharp minor. That melody is really, really nice. I feel like it works well over the progression. The progression to me, especially with your like rolling, like MS-20 rolling bass underneath it, like you have a lot of cool texture and a lot of like crunch and color and character in the song structure here so far. I really, really like. The thing I want to clarify a little bit is a lot of what's happening over that. I think your percussion's fairly clean. I really like the rolling bass. I like what it's doing in the mix. I like the overdriven vocal. And then there's some kind of mud surrounding this that I want to clarify just a little bit. That way your non-negotiables in the mix really, really shine. I'm going to back it up just a little bit, hopefully without taking away like your desire for ambiance. Like the thing I don't want to happen in a mix like this is that you have like an idea for this like big, wide, vibrant mix, and then you cut a bunch of things out and it feels sterile, right? And it feels too small. I want to find ways where we can still maintain that life, still maintain that presence, but the non-negotiables in the mix stay really, really strong and really well structured, because that's important, especially percussion, vocals, bass, some of those main elements that are carrying your progression. One of the the things that I'm noticing is a lot of your ambiance per element happens right behind itself, right? So you do have this nice, you have a couple layers of bass. You have your rolling bass underneath. That's kind of like your saw filtered pad. It's beautiful. It's got a lot of weight to it. And then you have kind of like your gritty sub bass that's right over the top of it, where you have like subharmonics, and you have a nice little stab over the top that, you know, that sounds really nice as well. I like what it's doing in the mix. On the vocal itself, so those feel really wide. Those feel really big and dynamic. On your lead vocal, I like the oversaturation. I like that there's some space and ambiance to it. You have a pretty prominent delay on the vocal itself, as well as I think some ad-libs that are also delaying on the vocal. That kind of loop of a delay that's all happening pretty close to center channel. It's all happening pretty close to mono. All of those elements kind of happening there in the middle of the mix, the reverb, the delay, the stereo delay kind of on top of each other, the ad-libs to that vocal, and all kind of stepping on each other's toes. That's, I think, where a lot of this mud is happening and a lot of this buildup is happening in the middle of this track. Not necessarily really, really wide, but really coming at you in the middle of the mix. What I would potentially do for you, I would prefer to keep a lot of those backgrounds and a lot of those delays and a lot of those echoes of that vocal kind of out of the way of the lead vocal, and potentially carve some space out of the middle. One thing that I feel like would be pretty beneficial for a vocal like this, for one, would be to get those delays that you have of your vocal outside as opposed to right behind the vocal. So you have this, those like vocals you have right here in the right there in the middle. Right now they're all right in front of the lead vocal, and they're all kind of stacking on top of each other. I would take all of your stacks and accent vocals, get all of your like ad-libs and stuff like that, get those a little bit wider in the mix, not all lined up right down the middle as well. Because again, you have like your lead vocal that's hitting you right here in the middle, and then the ad-lib comes in right on top. But then as the ad-lib comes in on top, the delay of the lead vocal sitting on, you know, you get this big like hamster wheel of mids kind of in the front of the mix right here, and you lose all of the distinction between what's happening with all those different elements. But if I get those stacks of vocals to the outside, your affection, and they're in different parts of the mix, they're segmented out just a little bit more, maybe pushed a little bit wider, I feel like that is going to, for one, open up your image a little bit. It's going to make the mix feel a bit more vibrant, a little bit more open, a little bit more dynamic. But at the same time, it's going to remove some of the muddiness and the tension that's happening in the center channel of your mix, because there's so much like mid information from the stack, the lead vocal, the delay of the lead vocal, the reverb of the stack, all happening in the center channel. So if you can open that up a little bit, I think you'll definitely be in a much better spot, much better spot. I really do love the crunch on the drums. It's very, very well saturated. It feels, you know, that works really well with the bass. So for me, I really like what you're doing with the vocals. I think those melodies are great, and I feel like I'm missing them. So if you can clarify that, I feel like you're in a much better spot, because there's not a lot that I like dislike at all about the song that's happening here. I think it's dynamic, it's interesting, it's kind of grimy, it's grungy. I like it a lot, but I am definitely missing actually distinguishing what's happening with that vocal a little bit more. And another thing that I would, you know, again, I'm going to say some things, Satori, that are a little bit stylistic as well. And so I always want to preface that by being like, it's your song, it's your production, and you have a vision for it that I want you to respect, and I want to respect too. I'll give you some ideas of some things that I feel like could maybe polish this a little bit and maybe make it feel like it has a little bit more room to grow and it doesn't feel too noisy and stuff like that. But feel free also to like ignore those things as well, right? Like if I say something like that's just not even what I want for the song, then just ignore it, you know, and you know, spit out the bones kind of a thing. Okay, one of the things that I feel like in the song is because you kind of always have this like you have sub bass, but with a really bright edge over the top, like that filter is really high. So you have a really bright edge over the top of it, and these bright, you know, mid forward vocals through the vast majority of the song structure. There's kind of a constant with the delays and reverbs and all of that bass. There's like a constant noise here at the top of the mix. You never really get like a break from that frequency and from that energy in the mix. So just as an example, like you have this kind of main structure here. You hear the energy shift a little bit, the bass pulls out, but you still have all of that information at the top. You hear the dynamic change, but there's still so much noise at the top. You still get all of that growl from the synth. You still get all of this additional energy in the structure of the mix that, to me, over time, you get a little bit of fatigue from. It's, again, like a lot of the elements in the song, they're cool. So like I like when it exists, I like that it exists in the song, but it constantly being in the structure of the mix over the top and constantly getting that grit and that tension and that character at the top, it starts to slowly lose its value in the mix, right? It's like if a song was a guitar solo the entire time and that's it, and the song just started and it was a drum solo and then the vocal comes, but it's still a drum solo. You're like, well, I love drum solos, but let's give the drum solo its pocket so it matters in the song. Kind of the same thing here. I would give yourself a little bit of a break from that synth. Like when you break this, and this little extra melody you move into right here. This, so when you move into this, melody in here, the I would maybe like take out, or if you want to do it on the full production, you can figure out what that looks like. Since you do take out some of the percussion, maybe filter it all down for a second and get this. You have like kind of like the pulsing drums and kind of the background of the production structure. You filter the whole production down, put it underwater, and then you have over the top. You have your lead melody that gives you a little bit more life, a little bit more presence, but you get a break from the top end for a second. Just carve all of that down for a moment, and then open up that cutoff for the next breakdown and let the drums hit again, let the bass come to life. But I think if it's constantly growling and you have this constant high-end information, you will start to fatigue from it and it will lose a lot of its impact in the structure of the mix. So I would find a way, either in your own production or just with the mix that you have, even just on the 2-track, to relieve some of the high-end, tension that you have there. That way, when it comes back in, it actually matters and it feels really, really full. Just an option. How you do that obviously is completely up to you. Let's get a little bit farther into this. Satori, I like your sound design a lot. I mean, this is a style of music, like kind of dark wave, synth wave stuff I listen to a lot. So I really like the vein of what you're doing. I like the synth. I like the sound design. I like the consistency of the drum structure. I like the highly processed vocal. To me, it's just about like positioning and clarity and contrast. Those two things, like positioning of vocals and where you have their textures and their ambiance, clarity for those elements so it doesn't feel like noise is hitting you all the time, and then contrast. It should feel kind of dark and lower in some moments and also really vibrant and bright in some moments. If it's always one of those things, you kind of lose your lose your contrast a little bit. So, but I like what you're doing a lot. You're a talented producer, you and whoever you are working with collaboratively on this production. And the master itself is loud and I think is doing what it's supposed to do. But I do think that there's some things before the master that can be fixed so that the master is even more optimized and closer to what you really want it to be. Like, these melodies are great. They're catchy. They're dynamic. I like so much of what you're doing. You should be really proud of this record. It's really nice. If we can backtrack a few things and polish them up, dude, you've got a great. Show some love. Satori Zoom, thank you so much. It was my first time hearing your music, man. Thank you so much for sending that in. And I like I said, I really like your sound design. I like your intuition for these records. I think you are a very talented producer. You've got a good ear for the music. Your progressions are interesting. So keep doing what you're doing. Just keep chipping away at it because you got a lot going for you, man. You're very, very talented. Y'all, please give it up one more time for Satori Zoom. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Hopefully, we'll get to see y'all very, very soon. Like I said, I'll be live again tomorrow afternoon. And hopefully we can get into a bit more of y'all's music as well. Y'all have an amazing rest of your evening.